as I look around the room, I look at the water coming out of the shower faucets, and all of a sudden I see red. My brain puts me in the movie Silence of the Lamb, that for whatever reason, there's blood coming out of these drains. As you can imagine, it was extremely scary. Can you believe our final episode of the year is here? Before anything, I want to thank you so much for tuning in each and every week and keeping the show a top 5% global podcast. It allows us together to make a difference across the whole world. My name is Vincent A. Lanci, and for our final show of the year, I'm coming back with the next solo episode for you. Yes, I'm trying to listen to your feedback of wanting more of these. So for this month, we'll continue right from the month prior. On November 23rd, I came out with the first chapter in my TBI recovery journey. I called it The Road Back. We talked about what happened when I remember right before the accident, right? The coma, waking up, the terror of realizing I can't talk and walk the way I used to, right? The daily battle for basic learning and the first steps of relearning life, right? I talked about the arm bicycle and the tedious task to me that it became. And then what is a TBI? I gave a bunch of definitions from a credible source, sourced it in the episode for you, and talked a little bit about kids with TBIs. And for today, I'm going to pick right up where we left off. And we're brought to you only possible by ComingAlivePodcastProduction.com. No matter where you are on your podcasting journey, whether it's an idea or trying to improve your show, they're here to help. That's ComingAlivePodcastProduction.com. I'm about ready to dive into the next step here. And at first, sharing my story when this first happened, it was so hard. I wasn't ashamed. I wasn't still in denial. It was just almost like I wish it never happened, right? But in life, there's no start over button. We're dealt a hand of cards, and you either sit and sulk, cry, why me, or you use your situation to make the best of it and also hopefully inspire some other people along the way, which is something that I'm talking about here through my journey, hoping that it resonates with you, whether you had a traumatic brain injury, someone in your family or a friend did, or you're going through just a tremendous amount of adversity or a loved one. I hope I'm here to help. Before I dive into this incredibly vulnerable and honest conversation, I'm excited to share something with you, the listeners. Next year, since I started recovering, I've been doing some brain injury coaching. Nothing serious, just doing my best to help, and the feedback I've received is truly humbling. So I am taking this to the next level next year, right? My accident anniversary is coming up in January, so I'm excited to share that I will have a brain injury recovery roadmap coming your way. And with that, I'm going to dive deeper into my brain injury coaching practice. I know how blessed and grateful I am for my recovery, although I still 13 plus years later have a long way to go. But if I could find a way to help more people find their way back to a life of normalcy and fulfillment, it's worth it for me. So stick around for more announcements with my book and the coaching practice and how to get involved. If you are someone who this message is resonating with and you want to get on the early action list, the best way to do that is go to timewithvincent.com and book an absolutely free call with me, or email Danica at podcastsbylanci@gmail.com. That's plural podcast, podcastsbylanci@gmail.com. Let's get to it. I've been so excited to share this, and I've been waiting, and now I hope that you hear the enthusiasm in my voice. I'm bringing you everything I have, just like right now in this episode, which I'm going to bring my second chapter to you in my road back of the TBI recovery journey I faced and still do. Where we left off in our last conversation, right? Chapter 1. If you missed chapter 1, no worries. You can head back to the show directory and check it out. The title was The Road Back, My TBI Recovery Journey, Chapter 1. So where we signed off on my first episode in this series, no worries if you missed it, you can go back to the show directory and catch up on my journey. But where we left off was the hospital stay, and then it was Super Bowl time. So At this point, I'm roughly 2 weeks into my hospital stay. I've moved around into a few rooms. I've moved into the room with many severe cases for the nurses and doctors to monitor together. At that point, as I was snapping out of the denial stage, things did not get any less confusing, and with no end date clearly defined, right? Because everything's day to day, week to week, month to month. You don't know where the progress is going to come, when or how. Some of the memories I started having was when I couldn't separate dreams from reality. Now, I have vivid memories and images in my head of these situations happening, and I talked about them in my first book, Left for Dead. I didn't know what's what, if I saw something on TV, if it's something someone told me, if it was one of the few times I had my electronics. Remember, it interfered with my brain's recovery, the confusion, the information overload. So I didn't have those for most of my stay. Let me dive into two of these situations where I couldn't separate reality from what was not. If you've ever played sports growing up, you know what a locker room style shower is, where you have just a bunch of nozzles and stuff like that. And when I started getting changed and showered, I couldn't walk. I had a big brace on my leg. I had the brain injury, so I couldn't be alone in there anyway. I would sit on a plastic bench while another grown man would hold the shower nozzle over me as I would put shampoo and soap on my body and what have you. As I look around the room, I look at the water coming out of the shower faucets, and all of a sudden I see red. My brain puts me in the movie Silence of the Lamb, that for whatever reason, there's blood coming out of these drains. As you can imagine, it was extremely scary. And again, I still remember this today. This happened in 2013, January. The second one, I can give you a little chuckle out of at this point. I can laugh at it. At the time, I certainly couldn't, because it was extremely scary. And I only can wonder what my family and friends were thinking when this was happening. But if there's any sports fans tuning in, you may remember the late Lakers owner, Jerry Buss. In this dream or hallucination, whatever it may be, Jerry and I were in my hospital room, right? Just shooting the conversation, BSing, hanging out. When he left, as I do air quotes, right, left the hospital, he left me two gifts. One, a picture of my dog Lincoln and I. And two, gold chocolate. Now, I don't know how or what this came from in my dream or hallucination, whatever it may be, where I was so excited, hyped that I'm getting this gold chocolate. Meanwhile, it was me going to the bathroom in my bed, right? Getting woken up from this dream or hallucination and finding that I went number 2 in the bed, right? It wasn't chocolate or gold. It was me going to the bathroom in my bed. So this story, these two stories, I hope portray how serious a traumatic brain injury can be, right? There are a lot of things that come out of nowhere. It's not just the healing that comes out of nowhere after you've been waiting and waiting. It's things like that where it's a truly nightmare at times, up and down roller coaster that I could never have done without the amazing support system in my life and the amazing care over at TGH. At this point, all of my therapies are also starting to ramp up, right? Going from having 1 appointment a day to slowly 2, right? Whether it's PT and occupational therapy or PT and speech therapy, things are starting to inch back into daily responsibilities, right? Learning how to be a human again, a person again, being a 21-year-old, almost college graduate, right? Keyword almost. I was delayed in my graduation, to being someone who couldn't read the newspaper, couldn't understand what was happening on TV. So with the increasing amount of responsibilities also came an increasing itch to get back out of the hospital. I mentioned I had limited electronic usage periods, right? Before getting it taken away permanently. had told some of my friends, hey, I'll see you soon. Hey, I'm getting out of here soon. Hey, I'm going to have people at my house to catch up with everyone, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, none of that was ever happening. And I missed everyone, right? These are the people who I left New York as a 17-year-old boy and was slowly becoming a man with, right? Learning how to navigate life. But of course, there was no chance of me going to see my friends or getting out because I didn't even have a release date, right? My brain was playing tricks on me. I lived so close to the hospital. At one point, I was asking if I can just go home and shower and come back, right? As if I was at a hotel. Of course, that's not how the situation went, but in this episode, I really wanted to highlight some things that happened from where we left off last time. Of course, I'm going to keep these episodes going as long as it makes sense until the end of my journey where we're going to cover piece by piece. But through all of this, there were a few constants. Once I got out of that denial period, and I challenge you for whatever adversity standing in your way, accept it, move forward, start recognizing that, okay, these are the things that I have to do in order to get back to where I need to be, or as close as I will to that. We'll get to this as the time comes in these episodes, but it took me 6 years to notice a change in my memory, right? That's me going back to school already, going to get my MBA, rewiring my brain to how I study and retain information. As I was writing Left for Dead, something finally clicked without me having to write it down in my planner and a post-it note in my Apple calendar, right? Anticipating I'd forget it. I finally did by putting my brain in overdrive, becoming a writer to share my story. But we've touched on some of the difficulties separating dreams from reality, talked about how therapy's starting to ramp up, right? No one still knows for sure what my life will look like on the outside. The brain injury, an invisible disease. A brain injury is an invisible disease. Once my face was no longer purple, right? Because I landed on my face after getting hit by the car. People had the assumption that I looked normal, I am normal. Meanwhile, I have so much work to still do. We'll talk about that fatigue more as I get into the episodes of me returning to Tampa. But I kept showing up to my appointments. I kept seeing little milestones that help propel me forward, right? Similar to entrepreneurship. One little piece of growth will prepare you to endure the 99% of rejections and lessons learned and trying to figure it out coming my way. The good thing was that as I was able to move around a little more and get some motion, I no longer needed shots to prevent blood clots, right? And I remember one being somewhere near the rib area in the middle of the night, getting woken up and getting one. I could still remember the discomfort in these shots, and it's what had to be done, a very small price to pay in order to be alive. And then as I kept going and sticking with it, with the amazing support of my mother being there every single day until discharge, friends slowly starting to be able to come in more, right? In groups of 2 or 3 max. Eventually, the light started to show. I eventually got a discharge date, and with that, I was able to finally use a calendar next to my bed, checking days off, right? And there wasn't much time, but with discharge came a whole life of uncertainty. On my next episode with you, we're going to talk about the discharge date, when I got released, all of the things that happened while I was in New York to prepare me to get back down to Tampa, Florida, where I had to rebuild a life of independence. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine my parents' thoughts when I finally was going back down to Tampa. I was so dedicated to not let someone else's poor decision ruin my life forever. And I hope that me sharing my journey gives some of you listening on today the belief that, hey, if I can do it, you certainly can do it, whatever's standing in your way, because I'm nothing special. I'm a regular person just like you. But with the power of believing in yourself and having a solid support system around you, anything can happen, and that support system doesn't have to be a family or friend. It could be a mentor, someone in the community, someone from a club that you go to, someone from the deli you visit, right? Someone that can be in your corner, because the power of positivity goes a long way. Please remember to subscribe to stay current, not just on this mental health journey on my solo episodes, but with the amazing guests that have the courage to share their journey each and every week since January 2020. And with that, I'm signing off today. right here on A Mental Health Break. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I would love to hear your feedback. What did you love? What do you want to see more of? Are there any questions you would like me to ask the guests who come on the show? This show is not possible without you, the amazing listeners, so please email us at podcastsbylanci@gmail.com and let us know what you think. We'll also feature you on a later show. Please remember to subscribe to stay current with our amazing community of guests who will continue to come on the show, sprinkled in with solo episodes from me, Vincent A. Lanci. With that, I look forward to introducing more shows to you each and every week. And with that, we're signing off today. Enjoy the episodes and make it a great day ahead.